morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I'm your host, Wendy Nystrom, and today I welcome back Mark Bernstein. He is the founder, CEO, president of Earthshot. So welcome back, Mark.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
And I'm so excited to have you back. We spoke probably about a little over a year ago, and you were just beginning to work on Earthshot. And we talked a lot about your background. So I wanted to revisit your background real quick because you're a mathematics major. Obviously a brilliant guy. You've been an adjunct professor at a couple of universities, and you work as an advisor for companies about government policy. What led you to start focusing on the environment, sustainability, and renewable energy?
Well, that's a long process, but I've been doing environment stuff since I was in high school. So,
really?
I've always been sort of active at some level. And then when I finished my math degrees and decided to go get a PhD in energy environmental policy is when I decided to put it into my work life. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been in the environment, energy game for a very long time, and the climate change game for a very long time.
Including at the White House. I just got to throw that one in there. It's very impressive work you've done.
Including in the Clinton administration. And I've been annoyed at the messaging since then. That was a long time ago. And
you and I can agree on that one.
I always thought stoking fear is not going to get people activated.
It's true. No, that's why with ESJ started up. I got tired of the negativity. I try to keep it positive. I try to offer solutions, and I try to keep it simple because, as you know better than anyone, if we all talk in acronyms and jargon, people aren't going to understand, and they're going to be resistant. So you started Earthshot, and this was actually when I met you, the first time I had thought about gaming and climate change and sustainability. So could you explain how those two work really well together?
Yeah. So, when we decided we wanted to really try to inspire people, particularly young people, by showing all the cool stuff clean tech is and cool solutions, we asked, where are they? Well, they're not going to listen to you if you just tell them, right? So where are young people? They're on games and social media. And so when we thought about it is, okay, how could we put these solutions and clean tech into the gaming? Not create an environmental game, they're out there. We want to attract people to the fun play and just kind of product placement, put clean tech in there and engage people with it and get people to kind of talk about it. Because what we do know is that young people, when they're playing these multiplayer games, they talk to each other. Yeah. And they're going to say, what is that solar panel sitting there in the or that windmill or whatever.
That's true. And most of us would be like, it's just a windmill. It's just a solar. But as you get older, you're like, well, what kind is it? What does it do? Where do I get one? I want that too. And that's what you're driving.
Yes, we're showing people that the stuff is cool, the stuff is better, and it works. And whether you care about climate change or not, the tech is just better. And that's what we're trying to get at from these things.
And the tech is better. I always tell people who, because you talk about climate deniers, and that is something I would like to address very briefly, is people just say it's not going to affect my life. And quite honestly, pollution doesn't believe in borders. Pollution travels everywhere. And it is affecting all of us because simply we're just burning petroleum. Petroleum's never going to go away. I understand that. But we just need to stop burning it. It is something that is not helpful. So how do you get that messaging across to the climate deniers who just can't be bothered?
So we're not trying to take on that particular message. Right?
Okay.
So there are plenty of people trying to shift the denier side. What we're trying to say is to show people, whether you care about climate or not, is this stuff is just better, right? And for those who care about climate, they're going to look at it and they're going to be really inspired. For those who are climate deniers, if you kind of engage, particularly young people, in just the technology ideas, they're really into tech and they look at the tech and that's really cool tech. Okay, Maybe climate is happening, maybe not. I don't care. This tech is better and I'm going to support it. I'm going to go out and develop it. And so that's, we are not trying to change the fundamental belief. There are plenty of people trying to do that pretty much unsuccessfully. And so we didn't want to get into that. And we want to just show people that this stuff is just, it is cool tech and it's just better.
And the fact that you stick to just the facts is important. So science and engineering, you're sticking with fact, you're sticking with, and science is, trial and error. We all know that. You try something, it didn't work, you tweak it a little bit, you work on it, you make it better until it works out. But those, when people I do meet that talk about renewable energy and it's not better than traditional energy, it's really hard to argue that when you're showing them data and information and the technology. I mean, the technology has grown by leaps and bounds in the last 10 years alone, where it's much more efficient. And, the storage capacity of our batteries are better. What solar panels were 20 years ago compared to now is night and day, literally night and day.
Exactly. I mean, when I was trying to sell solar 30 years ago, right? And it was expensive and it didn't work that well, it's totally different. So the ideas we had way back when were ahead of its time because the technology wasn't ready. But the technology's here now, and it's cheaper, and it's easier to use, and you have more control. I mean, the other thing one can begin to talk to people is, okay, a lot of people care about their own personal control of things. Well, if there's some random power plant out in the middle of nowhere that you have no control over versus having solar panels and battery on your house that you can actually control, there's some sense of it. And again, it's crafting those types of messaging that shows how the technology is better and cheaper and engaging people in that.
Yes. And I was going to add to that, you touched on resilience. So when there are natural disasters or heat advisories, we're having high heat issues all across the United States right now. What happened in Texas? We had a hurricane run through. Houston is still without power. I have a lot of friends there that are miserable because it's high heat, high humidity, and no air conditioning. And that can be a life-threatening situation. Yesterday, Palm Springs, downtown Palm Springs, had a huge power outage. I don't know what attributed to it, but I'm going to say maybe high heat, something blew, something happened. So a lot of people are without air conditioning when it's 110, 115 degrees outside. That it's not just control, it's life. You need to be able to live through these conditions.
And we need to show people what's available and what they can do and how they can do it. And that's what we're trying to do both in our social media and in our gaming and in our graphic novels. And so if we think about social media and, we start looking at, as we, in the last couple of months, we've just really begun to engage in our social media platforms to show the positive elements that are happening out there and people doing cool, positive things. When we posted about Coldplay's Zero Carbon Tour, we had more than 100,000 views on TikTok.
That's huge.
It's huge. And it's the biggest one we've gotten. And then, people then start following us and sort of looking for other kind of positive stories that people are doing. And so there is a pent-up interest and excitement about showing these things.
Showing the positive, the things that can change, the things that can be done.
Right.
I want to really focus on the gaming and Fortnite. I don't know Fortnite personally. I was forbidden from playing video games as a child, which that did not make sense. But I wasn't allowed to play games. And I know that my nephews love Fortnite. And could you explain to people who may not be familiar with it, what it is and how Earthshot is involved in that?
Yeah. So Fortnite is the world's largest multiplayer gaming platform and developed by Epic Games. And what happens in Fortnite is when you enter the game, you get dropped onto a map. An island. Essentially, they call them islands, and they are islands, but it's a map. And the map can have a whole bunch of different types of gameplays. There are the most popular ones are battle royale, and they're fighting. But there are tower defenses where you have to defend your building against invading creatures like zombies. And then there are races. There are parkour courses, obstacle courses, in which you can either be running or you can be on a glider going through things. So there's this range of 30 plus types of gameplay that exists in the Fortnite universe. And what Epic Games has done is provided creator software that allows anybody to actually build an island map with their own gameplay. Now, it's not simple, but anybody can do it. It still has to get approved by Epic Games to go up on their game store. But what it allows us to do is rather than trying to create our own new game and try to get followers for it, we can plug into the 500 million Fortnite players and get some of them to want to play, and we can craft really interesting gameplay in the island network.
500 million?
Yeah, there are 500 million registered players. At any given moment in time, there are somewhere between 2 and 12 million players playing actively right now. And so it's big. And Disney just put $1.5 billion into Fortnite, which means it's going to get, they're optimistic it's going to get bigger.
Oh, but that's the way to do it. I mean, if you want to reach young people, or actually all people, it's not just young people playing these games, it's everybody. But if you want to reach people and make it fun and interesting and exciting, and then, hey, maybe I learned something along the way, that's the way you do it.
Right.
I mean, I probably would have done much better in school if there was a little gamification going on, rather than, fill us out.
And teachers are beginning to use it. There's a whole network of teachers helped by Epic Games to actually, it's not only teaching programming and Fortnite, but also engaging people in gameplay and how it's a positive element in education. And so we produced our first island with our corporate partner, Tradewater. And what Tradewater does is they take carbon credits and use the credits to plug orphaned gas wells. And there are millions of them in the United States. These are gas wells that have no ownership anymore, and so they're spewing methane. And they also collect up old refrigerant canisters, and there are millions of those around the world that are leaking significant greenhouse gas from old refrigerant canisters. And it's kind of blue collar stuff, and they go and do these things. And they wanted to kind of do something cool, they're doing something cool, but most people don't look at plugging gas wells as cool. So they asked us.
They don't think about it. It's things like that people don't even think about. They don't realize that there are abandoned wells, and it's not just methane gas being released. It's all that contamination seeping out from the old equipment and things that are just left to rot.
Right, and you gotta cap them, seal it, and plug them. And so they said, well, could we do something cool in Fortnite? They came to us and said, yeah, we can. And so our first island it's called a parkour course. And those parkour courses are where you run and you jump and you got to get over things and get over hurdles. And you have a bow and arrow, and you've got to plug oil wells with your bow and arrow.
That's awesome.
As well as pick up canisters along the way. And it's a race against time. The more you can go fast, but you gain more points if you shoot the wells and pick up canisters along the way. And there is a toxic cloud that comes over that you got to stay in the safe zone. But sometimes you have to go out of the safe zone to get something. You got to come back into the safe zone. And so it's a race to the finish. And we created this to have excitement and fun, to give people something to do. But also the way Fortnite works is there are real competitive games out there. And then people will go to non-competitive ones to hone their skills. In this case, we want people to come who want to improve their bow and arrow skills. So they come to our island, get some battle pass points to improve their bow and arrow skills. But at the same time, they're going, okay, why am I, shooting at oil wells? And then they come and look and see what they're doing.
And then they learn why this, is actually a real world implication that matters.
Yes. And
they'll start thinking about that when they're not gaming, when they're actually out in the world. As they get older, they'll have that knowledge that they didn't even realize they amassed.
Exactly. And then they'll talk about it, okay, why am I shooting oil wells? And somebody's going to know in their friend group, right? And the other thing that's unique about what Epic Games is doing is if enough people play your island, Epic Games shares revenues with you. And so if we get enough people playing, we're going to take some of those revenues, and our corporate partner Tradewater is actually going to plug gas wells with it. And so if you play the game, you're actually in the game world plugging gas wells. In the real world, we will plug gas wells. And so it's really a way to engage young people in the effort.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you're tying this together to let people know that they are actually making a real world difference with enough of this moving forward. And now you've also got a graphic novel, which I didn't even realize when I was going through your page recently. I saw that a month ago you released it. And someone who kind of grew up kind of with comics, I think that's really cool. We call them comics nowadays.
And comics have a huge resurgence, and young people are reading them. So that's the first chapter of Supercharged. And Supercharged is a love story, cross-country adventure around electric vehicles. And so you've got a assistant professor in the East Coast who's invented a super cool battery for EVs, and need to get to the LA Auto Show to win the top $10 billion prize. But some bad people want to take the battery and destroy it and not let it get out there. And so you've got your professor and another in his old truck racing across country, and along the way they upgrade the truck to be AV. So we're showing actually how you can in real time take an old truck and make an electric vehicle, and they keep adding enhancements to it. Anything from drones coming out of the frunk in the front to a 3D printer in the back to do parts, that you have to, everything you can do in an electric platform you can't do in a regular platform, as they make stops across country. It's a way to kind of showcase this. There'll be 8 chapters, culminate in LA, and the super coolest truck at the end. Along the way, they go, they stop in different cities, and it's, we'll engage with the people in the cities, and they interact with new people, and looking for donut shops and things like that along the way, because it's part of, learning about as things go along. So that's Supercharged.
That's really cool. And please add in a little bit of Detroit in there, Motor City capital of the world, because I know that they're doing a lot in the EV world in Detroit, which is where I grew up outside of that area. But no, I think it's awesome because people don't realize, there are companies out there where you can modify a petroleum powered vehicle into electric or hydrogen, whatever your choice is. I mean, I know a guy who's running a motorcycle company called Shandoka Cycles. Rip out that gas, put in electric. Air, I believe you're one of their advisors. They are working on electric airplanes. There's another airplane company that's using hydrogen fuel cells called Hydroplane. These things are all possible. And it just needs to get out there, and through your graphic novels, through your games, you are letting people know. And also you're doing a ton of travel. I follow you. I'm a little jealous. You've done some cool. You've been to London where you did some speaking engagements there. You attended some conferences, but then you're at the White House, which was, I'm super jealous of that. So you're really getting it out there. You're hitting the floor running.
Yeah, we're trying to. So we actually launched our Fortnite Island at the Environmental Media Association here in LA conference, and we showed it off. And I'm going to different venues talking. In August at the Serious Play conference in Toronto. It's a conference all about serious play, right? There's a whole thing talking about these things. I'm going to be talking there. I'm looking, those things are more spreading the word to get people to see what we're doing, and that's finding donors versus the activities of getting players. Because a lot of those people, they have kids or they have nephews or nieces who playing Fortnite or who read the comic. Though hopefully older people read the comic too, because there is a love story sort of fascination around it too. I'm out there trying to engage people, show people what we're trying to do, and open people's eyes to the opportunities that exist.
And the fact that change is possible. I think that's the best part of it, is the change is possible. It's out there, and you're making it simple for everybody to understand. Which, when we first started talking today, the communication and messaging has been pretty awful, because we talk in a certain language, but we expect the general population to understand what we're saying, and they don't, and that builds resistance. And you are breaking down that wall of resistance, saying, hey, this is for everyone. This is easily understood. We're making it simple for you. Yeah.
And it's not only the difficulty, it's the drumbeat of negativity. And the drumbeat of negativity, 10 years ago, you would say, okay, that led Gen Zers to be active. But the more you create negativity, the more depression and anxiety kicks in, and the more people step back. And so there are 3 things that happen if you're really anxious, right? You can either go ahead and do something about it, or you can step back and like feel nothing and just feel like it's hopeless, or you can kind of do selective actions. And I think 10 years ago we saw young people taking action, but now we're not. Now we're seeing, it's just gotten so negative and so basically hopeless that people are looking at it, and we need to shift that around. So it's showing that there are things and re-inspiring and re-engaging, and we got to do that for Gen Alpha in particular. Now the teenagers now really need to see some hope out there in the future, and that's the technology and the solutions that either they can do or they can push for, and they can engage companies with, and they can make companies do these things as well. So that's kind of what we're doing. And what we're hoping to create is this hub of islands in Fortnite, with different types of sponsors to have different types of gameplay, looking at different types of technologies. So we can kind of create something which people can come to, and they can go and off and do a whole bunch of different things.
That's awesome. So who are you looking to connect with? Like who would you want to reach out to if they watch this and say, hey, I want to reach Mark. I work in this industry. Who's it? I mean, obviously everybody, but who are you really focused on?
So I'm really focused on companies who are either doing some cool stuff or, big companies who have a good, robust sustainability programs, who want to let people know what they're doing, right? Yeah. And you can do that in these venues. So it's corporate partners who would like to come together and show off what's possible, and build something fun in the Fortnite universe. At the same time, we're also looking for folks who could influence people to come play and read, right? So, we want people to read the graphic novel Supercharged, and we want people to play the island. So it's those two. We've got two streams, right? It's let's get the population up, and so far we've had in 3 weeks we've had over 1,000 plays on the island, which is pretty good. We're aiming for 10,000 plays. We've had almost 700 unique players, which is really kind of the key thing. So we're looking to try to generate 5,000, unique players on the island as we move forward. And we want to get people out there engaging with it.
So just to interrupt you, if someone were to get onto Fortnite and they want to find it, just look up Earthshot. That's all they need.
No, there's an island code.
Oh, okay.
And so you get on our website, earthshot.us, and you go to the Fortnite page, and you'll see the Fortnite island code, and you use that, to play. The way Fortnite is a little bit hard that way, they're not really that set up for these, and you can't take a link from the website and go straight to Fortnite. It doesn't quite work that way.
Okay.
So, it's a long series of numbers. So just go to earthshot.us/Fortnite, and you'll find the island code, and you can go play the island.
Just click and run. Just go for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love what you're doing. And I'm so excited with all the success you've had, because when you and I met, you were just building this out and working on it and just creating it. And now that you've got a graphic novel. It's been a huge amount of success that you have had in a very short period of time. What's next for you? I know you're not done with Fortnite. You're still working the graphic novel. You have 7 more chapters to write, but you're got a lot of momentum going on. So I'm kind of excited to hear what's going on next.
So, other than trying to build out these hubs and finish the graphic novel, our next step is thinking about some in-person immersive experiences. And so we have a concept around a time machine experience in which you are, you and a group of folks, and you got 3D headsets, and you're sitting today, and out in the future is where you live 20 years from now. And as you travel forward in time, you have to make choices about the future, whether it's energy choices or food choices or, policy related choices that affect what that future looks like 20 years from now. And if you make, certain choices, you're going to have a nice, resilient, happy future. If you make the wrong choices, it's going to be all polluted and, destroyed, right? And so, and the idea is to craft something, where it's I don't know if you've been to the Disneyland Star Wars
I have
event.
not.
They have this Millennium Falcon ride, and you actually get, if you're not in a group, random people, and there are 6 of you in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and you each have jobs to do as you're riding through this thing. It's really cool, and that's kind of what we want to do with a little bit more interactivity, but it's going to shape the future. And then we want to take this and go out to places like county fairs in the middle of the country where they don't get to see this stuff, right? And they don't get these cool immersive engagements. There are over 300 small science museums around the country that reside in towns and small cities that don't get the big giant things we get here at the LA Science Museum, right? And so if we can take these things there, even if people are hesitant about climate, they're going to come and do it because it's the coolest thing they've ever seen, and they're going to do it, and they're going to learn something from it. So that's our next, once we sort of galvanize these things, we're trying to look to build that. That's way more expensive, way more intense. But AI tools and the new immersive tools that are out gives us the ability to kind of think through something like that, and and really take it on the road to where people are.
I love it. And I if I were a kid in school, I would totally want to do that, just to play it out and see what happens. When you're a little kid, you're like, well, let's try this, let's try that. And sometimes you're going to be like, wow, I really screwed that one up. But as an adult, you're more hesitant. You have like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. As a kid, you're like, whatever, dude, I am going to play. And that's what's the brilliance of it, is you're giving these kids the freedom to play and figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. And it be part of the gameplay and make it fun and interesting. And then people will get something out of it.
I love it. So, Mark, thank you for your time. This is awesome. I love what you're doing. I really do. And you're an inspiration to a lot of people to keep pushing forward and just avoid the negativity, put it out of your head, and keep focusing on the positive. That's important.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Anytime. So guys, I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Please check out Mark. Please check out earthshot.us/Fortnite. Play the game, learn something, do something different. I think it's very important that everybody check that out, and check out the graphic novel Supercharged, right?
Yep.
Did I get that right? Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.